I was wondering whether you could talk a little bit about the kind of responses and the consequences that came after that essay.
Well, the greater common good was, of course, one long essay on the Narmada. Subsequently, there were quite a few more essays I wrote on the Narmada about the whole privatization and what is going on. It was interesting when I wrote that. Like Shani said, I had written screenplays about college students. I had written The God of Small Things. I had written about love. I had written about sorrow and brokenness and so on. And then I said to myself, can you write about irrigation? Can you write about electricity and how much it costs? Can you write about things that affect ordinary people and make people read it with the same passion they read about love and war and caste and history? Can you do that? So even to me, that was a challenge. And of course, I had a huge sort of issues to deal with after that. But one of them was that, every few years, 5 male lawyers get together and file a criminal case against me. So that had happened with the God of Small Things, and the next was with the Narmada, where 5 men filed a case against me, saying that, among the many things they said was that I had tried to kill them outside the gates of the Supreme Court during a protest, at which I was not even present. And the Supreme Court sent a notice to me, asking me to explain myself. And so I was actually, I was actually saddened that such a big institution with so much work to do would take upon itself a case which even the local police were not willing to file and summon me. So I asked them, don't you have anything better to do? At which point I was charged with contempt of court. And it was very funny because during the hearings, they would throw the greater common good from one judge to the other, and they only referred to me as that woman. So I used to call myself the hooker that won the booker. And then when they asked me to apologize and I refused to, they started saying, but she's not behaving like a reasonable man. Because a reasonable man, of course, is a concept in law. Anyway, then I was sent to jail for a day and came out. But I'm just saying all this is part of being a part of what goes on in this country, not sitting back and pretending that you're neutral while you're drawing a huge salary, but jumping into the river and swimming along in your own whatever way,
Well, one thing that seems pretty evident about the reasonable man and what happened in the court and that woman is, of course, there's a large part of sexism involved. So have you also felt that some of the responses to the way people behave, particularly in the case of the Narmada, was also partly sexist?
Well, there's hardly anything...
That isn't.
That isn't, yeah. But I'm not going to be like... I have to say that I was quite amused by a lot of it, It didn't make me feel tragic in any way. But it was funny because I would get lectured by, very entitled Brahmin men who had probably written things that sold 100 copies, telling a woman who has just written a book that has sold millions how to write, what subjects you can write about, what tone you can take. I'm like, why don't you just give me a list and tell me what I can do, what I can't do, what I can wear, how I should look, and all of that, There was a man who also was, till recently, economic advisor in the Modi government, who wrote a piece basically suggesting I should be taken to a psychiatrist and saying, let me tell you how to calculate the numbers of displaced people by the Narmada Dam. Then he confused the Narmada Valley project, which consists of like 135 minor dams and 5 mega dams, with only the Sardar Sarovar. He confused the number of families with the number of people. So he divided everything up and said, see, the most controversial dam in Asia, this place is 5,000 people. I mean, common sense would tell you that even a drain in India displaces 5,000 people. But anyway, but you know what? He's a World Bank economist and he's a man and he has a beard and I don't. And so, boy, you know, he must be right. And it's just, I mean, to me, like, it didn't make me angry because it's just so corny. I mean, these guys.
It's amusing.
It's amusing, it's funny, and I enjoyed toying with them. But, you know, I don't have any tragic, like, oppression by them because I don't take them seriously enough to let them oppress me.
So you never bothered to kind of reply to their...
No, I had a bit.
You
of
didn't say
fun.
you should read it more
No,
carefully.
I did. I wrote a piece called in which Mr. Bhalla gets his sums wrong, but I don't think they can apply themselves enough to even figure out the sums. I mean, you go to the valley, even a child will tell you, man, how to calculate displaced people, what is displaced by the dam reservoir, who is displaced by the canals, who counts as project affected, and you know, but
and this is just public
casually
knowledge. I mean, you know, Narmada Bachao Andolan has actually put it out
you
there
can't.
as part
I
of public
mean,
knowledge.
you know, when you're on the side of the fighting people, you have to get your facts right. When you're on the side of the establishment, you can talk complete shit. You know, if you're a entitled World Bank economist or a Brahmin historian, you can say what the fuck you want. You know.
There's something that you said, I think, which is very interesting, not, you know, for writers or filmmakers. You say that I don't write on behalf of anybody. I do not represent anybody. I often have students coming up to me and saying, you know, I want to make a documentary and give voice to the voiceless. And I always lead them to what you have said, and I want to read it out. You have said that there is really no such thing as the voiceless. There are only the deliberately silenced or the preferably unheard. Now, how do you then lend solidarity and also stand apart? And that, I think, has been one of the unique things about the essays.
See, I don't lend solidarity. I am solidarity, you know? Like, I'm not someone who's like some sports star who's endorsing something. You know, when someone says, like, someone recently asked me about Narmada, they said, आपका आंदोलन कैसे चल रहा है? मैंने कहा मेरा तो ठीक चल रहा है, आपका कैसे चल रहा है? So he said, no, but what are you doing about the dam? So I said, I'm thinking of buying it. Because, you know, come on, like, the point is that we are all inside the story, you know, so whether it's Narmada or whether it's the comrades or whatever it is, we are also a part of what is going on, you know, so there's no question of being inside and outside and apart or together. It's something that's happening in our society, you know, so one does not, I will never ever claim to represent anyone, you know, so people ask me all the time, oh, you know, you should stand for elections or you should be in politics. I said, do you understand what I do? My job is to annoy people, not to ask them to vote for me, you know? Like, that's what writers do, you know? You question things. You don't always take the popular position. I don't always take the popular position. I might be alone on something against everybody, but I can it's still a legitimate position. You know, so we have to understand, just as you understand the difference between playing tennis and playing cricket or playing music. What does one do? It's not my job. I'm not a leader. I'm not a representative of anyone. I'm the teller of story. And in the telling of that story, I will decide where I want to be in solidarity. But I'm not the judge of anybody. And I'm not the representative of anybody. And yet, I have a position, I have views, and I'm happy to state them.
Yeah. I guess what I wanted you to also talk about is that, you know, in specific essays, how do you take that stand? because somebody can say, I'm in solidarity, therefore I represent, and I'm giving voice to voices. Whereas you're saying it's possible to be part of the solidarity movement, you don't have to be them. You know, and I say that because I felt that, like, that was very powerful, for instance, in the essay that you wrote on the Parliament attack, which involved all these so-called Kashmiri masterminds and terrorists, in writing about Afzal Guru, and particularly in writing that very, very important essay, Azadi, on Kashmir.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that whether it was the Parliament attack, you know, I mean, honestly, I don't know, sometimes I'm a person who doesn't fully understand right at the beginning why my mind starts leaning towards something, you know, it's just like something is leading me to something that I don't know why, you know. And so I found myself one day taking all the court papers, like from here to there, this many